What's going on, y'all? Just want to make this one quick. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, all my viewers out there, and all my subscribers. If you happen to come across this video, please like and subscribe. A funny thing I realized the other day was that an oath of office is actually a case number. Okay? Now, when you go to purchase an oath of office and you get a certified copy, that way they'll put it on the books that you purchased it and you accepted it for value. The thing is, when you go to the court and get a copy of the oath of office, there's a number on the top of it. The court file number. And that's a case number. So how did I find this out? Okay, I bought an oath of office. Another day, I'm just cleaning up and reviewing my documents, and I come across the receipt, and I take a closer look at it. And the actual oath of office number, it didn't say oath number, it said case number. And then it dawned on me. Oh, this is the people versus the officer. Because the officer is indebted to the people. Let me explain. When you say the people versus, you're saying that the people is the plaintiff and you're saying versus the defendant. Or in other words, you're saying creditor versus debtor. So, point being, if public officers are indebted to the people, they're in debt to the people, and there's a case number. If you have a complaint against an officer, do you really even have to file your own case? It strikes my curiosity. It makes me wonder. Let's say you driving down the road and you get pulled over for nothing, and you ask him, hey, why'd you pull me over? And he tells you something, right? And then, he tells you to get out the car, and you tell him you don't consent to any of this type of activity, and he says it's okay, and you don't resist, you just go along with the process, because hey, told you there's nothing here. I'm clean. You said you pulled me over for a lane change or something super minor that has nothing to do with looking all through my car or anything like that, but you still rampage it, you break it up. And now, in order for me to complain, I have to go to court. This is what you're going to tell me. Because they love to say, public officers love to say things like, I can't give you legal advice. They love to say things like that, But in reality, they're indebted to you. And, in reality, they must give you legal advice. It just depends how you ask them. But the point being is, I want y'all to ponder on that. Anybody who comes across this video. Because we're not going to talk about execution or action. I'm just talking about the what, not the how. I hear people online saying, I'm going to get your oath of office. And they doing all kind of stuff. They loud talking, these officers. And these officers, officers are respectful people, and they definitely have a dangerous job. So, and there's different levels to it, Attorneys are officers. Judges are officers. They're not in the line of fire though, so it's different types of officers. So when you hear me say officer, I'm not necessarily talking about somebody that may be necessarily a gun wielding type of individual that pulls you over and harasses you and stuff like that. Some people harass you through litigation and unlawful disposition. So all these officers are under an oath of office. All of them are under an oath of office where they solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, first and foremost. The United States of America. That's what it says in the preamble, first and foremost. But we also know that the so-called Negro was not included as a citizen in the original meaning of citizen in the Constitution. And we know that based on precedents. Judges have said this. So we know that they didn't, when they said we the people, they weren't initially speaking about us. However, one thing I do want to bring to your attention is that the first public law ever established by Congress, and many of you may know this, but the first public law ever established by Congress, the United States Statutes at Large, and you can go check it yourself, verify, an act to administer the oath of office. That's the first law. Because the first thing that the framers wanted to make sure of was that no government official would submit to financial or governmental tyranny, however you want to pronounce it. That was it, because that's why they went through the American Revolution. It was because of tyranny and taxes that were too high, and not to mention no representation in Parliament. Even though the British colonies were pretty much the backbone of England, the same way the so-called Negro was the backbone of the colonies and of America and modern invention. And I will just, give credit to J.A. Rogers for highlighting, just and Supreme Understanding, Dr. Supreme Understanding, highlighting, all the great things and inventions that we've had and the deities. And, we have many books that we could study, and this is already a well-known type of knowledge. This isn't something that's hidden. But not to, get away from the main topic at hand, the first public law ever created was the oath of office. And what that means is that they felt that the oath of office was the most important of all laws that established when the country first started. They definitely saw, the founding fathers of the United States, when they took a step back, they realized that they didn't want to have a situation where there was one person to answer to. They wanted to make it the rules under the people, a democratic situation. However, back then there was only, the free white people was the only people that they were really giving these rights to. They didn't even give it to women at first. Everybody pretty much had to fight for theirs, and and we know who comes last. The ones who came first before. So he who feeds shall not be fed. Okay? So now let's let's fast forward. Let's think about it like this. The oath of office is a case number. So if you get a ticket or not even, let's say you get no ticket. Let's say, like I said, you get pulled over, they harass you, they mess your car up. Now you go to peace. You go to the uh I smell bandy. What you want to do is you want to go to the courthouse and get you an oath of office, and you want to buy it. And when you buy it on the receipt, it's gonna say court file number or case number, and that's the officer's case number. This officer is under a bond. Now, a bond is what they offer. You know, people when they go to jail, they say you want to get out on bond, you could bail out, and they got a bond. The bond means that they're making a promise to come and and fulfill the obligations of coming to court and honoring the order. And if they don't, that they'll forfeit the collateral that they pledged in order to get the bond in the first place, whether it's money or a house note, car note, whatever it is. Right? You don't come to court, you lose it. Now, this officer's on bond. Every judicial officer, public officer, period, they're all on bond. Now, the ones that are like deputies are under the sheriff's bond, and the people, a lot of the police officers, they're under the chief's bond. So you'll find the bond there. However, don't worry about the bond, just worry about the case number, because their number's a case number. Now, once you file against that number and you officially place your security on that, then then what's next? I don't know. That's really not something I would talk about right now, because it's not something that I would per se be an expert in executing. But I will say I'm bringing this knowledge to you, letting you know that maybe when you get a copy of this oath of office of this officer, and you happen, let's say for a sheriff, for example, let's say you get the sheriff of Los Angeles, especially with all the stuff going on with this governor, or not governor, whatever, this public office lady who's making these racial remarks about the district attorney's child who needs to resign. But let's say, you felt threatened and you just say, let me go up to this court and order a copy of this oath of office because, just in case anything, I want to establish my information on this case. Now, this oath of office is a case. That's the cold part, because I've gotten copies of oath of office from different places, Freedom of Information Acts and stuff, and they've came back, and a lot of the times they don't have just numbers written on them, but when you see that number written on there, whether it's from the Board of Elections or whatever, that's a case number for the people against this officer, and it's against them because an officer has so many freedoms that and sovereignty or immunities, that's the word, not sovereignties, have so many immunities that they have to have some type of checks and balance, and it's a strict checks and balance. There's no way this country has a weak checks and balance system for officers. It's just that we don't know how to access that checks and balance like, a lot of these wealthy millionaire billionaires know how to do. Not the ones that have to go to court, pay for lawyers. I'm talking about the ones that you don't even see in court, or the ones that beat these cases, and it's just amazing stuff you be seeing. Like, dang, how did that happen? Just how does the world go round? How do people, drive through Los Angeles in the highest parts with no licenses and driver's plates on the car, and they just driving and riding and just sniffing the dirt all in behind the window, drinking and doing all the, just like they show you on that show, Ray Donovan. Art imitates life. So you seeing stuff like that. That's how they living. Meanwhile, you driving down your street, you leaving the house, the police on the corner waiting for somebody to speed. He just want to pull you over. You turning the corner. You didn't ease past this little line a little bit, boy. Got your heart pounding. Meanwhile, they just running the lights and doing this and that, and that's the privilege. And we all got this same type of entitlement. We should, and that's the even playing grounds. But I hear a few people online. Heard a few people online in the past say, you know, in order to prevent being mistreated by the government or by public officers or whatever, these officials, because the government doesn't mistreat you. The government allegedly is supposed to have laws lined up that are perfect for society, and the officers are the ones that mess it up for you. They the ones that overstep their boundaries and cross your line of freedom, and then they are the ones that are liable and not immune to certain things. This is what you call sovereign immunity, where the state is going to say, well, we don't. And it's true. If you look at the constitutions of the state, they don't really promote illegal, unauthorized activities. It's usually the codes, the penal codes, and the ordinances and stuff like that that are violating your rights. And you wonder why. Well, how are my rights getting violated if the Constitution says this? Exactly. It's a bug somewhere. It can't be that you have to go to the Supreme Court every time you feel like you have a constitutional challenge. It can't be that you have to play by their rules even though you're not educated on that. It can't be. There has to be a way for you to just be a normal person and just say what's on your mind, speak what's on your heart, and say what's lawful and what's not, and still within the parameters of the laws, still line it up right and draw it up right. But it's got to be a way to do it. And soon we're going to start teaching that way. Right now we just saying, listen, the oath of office is the first law ever made. They made that law before they made murder. Because back then, white man killing white man wasn't the thing. Plus, if it happened, it somebody would go to jail or die. They would kill one of these people coming from another place trying to incorporate into America, and you kill it. For example, like a Bonnie and Clyde type of situation, like forget, I don't know all their names. These mass murderers and terrorists that they've had in America. They breed it, but what I'm saying is they still kill their own. It ain't like that type of situation. Like, you out here robbing banks and you robbing from us now. You ain't now you go to the black church and rob a black church. Go burn that church down. Go to the black school and burn it down. Go close down the schools in Detroit. Go close down the schools in Inkster. Go close them schools down. Don't close them schools down in Ann Arbor and in Lansing. You better not, because that is where the home is at. That's the capital. It's got to look beautiful. Detroit is a beautiful place. But the way they do the people here is not a beautiful thing. And it's like, I don't, the look in people's eyes, being smart is a crime. Even trying to be smart, even trying to learn something. But they don't care about, listen, now let one of these niggas get out and kill, and want to do it in their voice. Let one of these get out of here and kill another white man. It's over. It's over. They didn't have no jail. They put you somewhere, boy. Listen. Now listen to this. Now if you got out and you did something like like look at a white woman. Shit is crazy. Let's just say you looked at a white woman the wrong way. They wouldn't take you to court. They would kill you. Now, the thing, don't get it twisted. Now, they would kill you, right? But let me give you some game. Now, if you was a slave and you had an owner, oh no. You wasn't killing that property unless you took it up with the owner. Because listen, you kill my listen, can't kill you. You destroying my property now. That's how they saw that. They didn't see it as, look, you murdering something. No. So they would kill. They could kill a black man, a black child, a black woman, and they wouldn't go to jail for murder. If at the most, they would go to jail for the destruction of property and have to pay a fine. And if you paid the fine, you most likely you didn't go to jail for that type of shit. Because most of the time you had the judge out there watching you do it. The sheriff, all your children, put a blanket on the ground, made sandwiches. This is where picnics came from. A little basket with a little wine, got a little apple Martinelli's for the children, a little sparkling apple cider and stuff like that. Remember, celery with the peanut butter and the raisins, ants on the branch, Martinelli's. Kids coming out like it's Thanksgiving, watching somebody hang on a tree. Listen to me, this is real. I'm not even laughing. Am I laughing? Boy. So, what are we going to do, new generation? This has nothing to do with black and brown no more. See, they gonna hang everybody. Not by a rope. Let's watch our language. Get done like that Mexican lady in L.A. Listen, I'm talking about the Mexican lady that said them wrong things, boy, because I don't say things like that. Period. I'm talking facts, boy. They ain't gonna hang you by the rope no more. They gonna hang you by the paperwork. Okay, so like the story of Bilal, Muhammad, peace be upon them. Bilal was a slave. They was putting rocks on him. Every time they put another rock, he would scream out, Allahu Akbar. Every time they put another rock, he would scream out, Allahu Akbar, right? And, this is a rough version of the story. Word gets back to Muhammad. It's a slave out there, man. They about to kill him, man. He keeps screaming. They putting rocks on him. They stoning him, and every time they put more rocks on him, he scream out, Allahu Akbar. Muhammad said, man, go out there, man. Go buy that, man. Go purchase that slave. Listen. So Muhammad, cousin, uncle, whatever, he go out there. He got the gold. I guess he got like 100 pieces of gold or whatever, right? He like, listen, man, let that man go. He coming with me. I'm here to buy this slave. Right? And they go back and forth a little bit. They laugh. They like, man, take this piece of shit. So they give him the money, right? It's 100 coins. The dude laughs. He laughs harder. He like, man, this is funny. This is amazing. This must be my special day. I got to beat up on this man, and you give me 100 gold coins. He said, what's so funny? This is what Muhammad's people said. What's so funny? I don't like this laughter. You embarrassing me, and you trying to shame me, and I just paid you. You need to, calm down and just take your money like a man. That's the type of, and the man was like, oh, I'm not laughing at you in that type of way. I don't mean no disrespect. I'm just laughing because I would have gave them to you if you gave me 10 pieces of coin. So he overpaid. Whatever. What I'm saying is, sometimes it ain't the rope. Sometimes they put rocks on you. Sometimes they put paper on you. Paperwork. You know what I'm saying? Stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and files. And you be out here trying to do your thing and live your life, take care of your children. And they really have no concern with that if you don't know law, because there's no, ignorance is not a defense. And just because, and all of a sudden you need a lawyer and shit, That's where you messed up. You need a lawyer, and you see, we don't know nothing. That's the problem. Everybody's light years ahead. We need Johnnie Cochran. Where you at, Johnny? Johnny, where you at? Boy. You know, because if we don't start lawyering up, boy, we not never gonna understand none of this stuff. You know, that's where all the stuff, the rules is written in the laws. How do you think I found out all this stuff? I read, and then I went, executed, then I investigated, researched. Where's Johnny? Yeah. Yeah. Life is serious. So the oath of office is a case number. Let me keep saying it because I want y'all out there to do what you're supposed to do with this. You know what to do. You know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, hit me up. We're going to figure it out because I'm going to tell you right now. When you watch them videos of them crazy ass white people cussing them police out. What the fuck you pulling me over for, motherfucker? I got your oath. But name and badge number right now. Right now? Give me a name and badge number. Before the officer could tell them anything. I'm talking about they already on their head, boy. You know my face. I've already destroyed one of y'all before. And they ain't talking. Listen, abide by your oath. Listen, what we supposed to do is shh and hit me up. Because I'm going to tell you right now, listen to this. Certain things is like, man, I can't give you the type of shit that I learned. I could give you, I could reference it piece by piece. I can't tell you what to do, not because I can't give you legal advice. Fuck all that. What's said in private is said in private. I plead the fifth. This is public. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do. I could just tell you what it is. What is really in front of your face. And what's in front of your face is a case number against the officer when he gets elected. The people versus the officer. Now, who are you? Where is your bone in that fight? Because when they violate your rights, aren't you the people? Who did they make the oath to? Didn't they make an oath to support your rights as the people? Ain't you a human being? Ain't you? Okay, then. So now, what does it mean? Can we connect the dots? Sure we can. Sure we can. Am I going to do it loosely? No. I'm going to connect the dots like a professor. You can't just come with the hypothesis out loud. You got to come with the conclusion first in private, and then you could introduce the whole equation. You could introduce the whole scientific method. But until, you execute it yourself or see the results of your experiment and get the answers to certain questions, then how you going? You feel what I'm saying? So now, my thing is, listen, today you get pulled over, you get a ticket. I don't give a fuck what it's for. As long as you ain't, listen, this is, as long as you ain't hurting people, putting people in potential harm's way, and other people might say otherwise, whatever. Right? For this right here, I'm going to tell you, don't break the fucking law. Straight fucking face. Straight face. Don't break the law. Don't get out there and think you above the law the same way these officers think they above the law. This is the whole point. I'm not saying live below the law, because all power of the law is inherent in the people. You got the right to citizens arrest somebody if they commit a crime in front of you and commit the crime and endanger people's lives. You got the right to arrest somebody right there on the spot. You got the right to send somebody a bill, an invoice, a fine, and tell them what they owe you. How do you execute it? Hey, now these are different things, but they obviously mastered it because they send you a goddamn bill in the mail, and you show up because you like, man, if I don't show up, it's gonna be a warrant. And they got whole officers that gonna come get. But are they violating your rights at that point? At what point are they violating your rights at the point when they just go to work and ignore you? I think silence itself. The fact that if you ask an officer any question, he don't answer it. Even if he don't know, officers are, listen, for all you officers out there and all you people, you human beings, listen, an officer is not allowed not to know. If you ask him a question, if he don't know, he's going to stay quiet. And that's not good. Silence is no good in the law from officer. No good. But neither is a wrong answer or not knowing. A wrong answer is better than not knowing or silence. I'd rather have an officer tell me something wrong, because now I could hold him liable for telling me the wrong thing, but at least he could say in good faith he tried. For real. And silence is no good faith. Listen, if I bring something to your attention and you stay silent, you did not do that in good faith. If you know what I'm saying? Like, period. Officer don't got the right to remain silent. This not like what you looking at with the Trump thing, and they know that's a private committee alternative dispute resolution board meeting. That's what y'all got to realize. Them people ain't at court. Them committee meetings. You ain't got to tell nothing to the committee. You ain't got to tell nothing to the court. You could plead the fifth. But an officer in court, no, sir. You can't plead the fifth. You have to speak up. And a lot of the time, or really all the time, we don't know how to execute that. So they not going to speak up, and then you going to lose, and they going to send you a default in the mail, and they going to ruin your credit, and they going to garnish your wages, and they going to hit you with some taxes and liens and whatever the fuck they want to do, because there's no ignorance in the law. And you see, that's why I got one of these. Black Law Dictionary, 11th edition. And, try memorizing it. Boy, I got to try, everything else first. Like putting food on the plate. Not try, but, I got to do these things before I do that. So, we in a tight squeeze. However, we getting closer to realizing how to keep them off our rear end so that we could have a life where we just want to have freedom, which means the ability to attain peace and happiness without hindrance, without somebody holding you back, doing things to hold you back, or doing things that push them forward and also hold you back simultaneously. Or hold you back simultaneously, or hold you back and just so happen coincidentally benefits them too. So what are we really in? We really in a situation where if we don't know the law, and they keep writing laws, executing laws, and they got all these laws, and it's been 400 years you couldn't read, and now you know all these complaints. We want to march, and then we gonna get in the public. We don't know nothing about the private life. We don't know nothing about keeping ourselves in the house. We gonna show our ass and put our face all on the camera, and now this is what I gotta do, because this is the only place where we at. This is where we live at, on the goddamn internet, and it's not that good, but if this is what we gotta do to push the message, the age of information, the internet is a beautiful thing. You cannot waste it. It's a lot of, you can find whatever you want online. The good to the bad in between, and I encourage you to find the good. And, because that bad stuff online, a lot of that bad stuff is getting put out by agents anyway. De factos. People are trying to, destabilize, your drive to do better in life. You know what I'm saying? Because they benefit off your pressure. Pressure for you is a diamond for them. They say pressure make pipes, but pressure bust pipes, but it also make a diamond. But what we gotta realize is that pressure causes heart attacks. Pressure make have stroke. So type of pressure we talking about, we high blood pressure. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to have them type of pressures. You don't want to have low blood pressure. You don't want to be a flat tire. You don't want to be overinflated. You want to be nice and right. And every now and then you're going to change a tire. Life ain't, we can compare life to whatever we want, but nothing compares to life. Nothing compares to man, woman, and child, and how you feel on your skin is nothing. I give you $1,000. Hey, listen, I don't even listen. Let me show. I'll give you $100. Let me go a little bit less. I give you $100 right now if you could find something that could describe you other than a human being. Right now. Yeah, buddy. Good luck. Go find me something that's gonna describe you other than a human being. You know what? There's something about human beings, man. It makes us very spectacular and special and purposeful. We describe everything. Everything is described by us. Everything. Everything. Even things that don't ask to be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's language. You describing shit. And guess what? Your description ain't really what's being described. Come on now. I hope y'all feel me, man. Listen. When we get into the biblical stuff, you want to get into like religion and follow it up with that. Boy, this is double talk. They do double talk. It's devil talk, double talk. Where they, they say one thing on paper in public that's different than they would say on paper in private. They not gonna issue nothing. First of all, they can't issue nothing that ain't public. They could settle in private. But how they gonna argue with you in private if they public officers unless they dealing with a private situation? And how can you make your situation private with them? Who cares? Administer your shit, and it's private. Just don't go open. Listen, don't open a court case. It's the most stressful shit in the fucking world. Okay, open and go on the court and saying I'm gonna sue you and fuck all that. There's different ways to do this shit, and we learning. And I'm telling you right now, there's a back door everywhere, bro. There's a back door everywhere, and the courthouse has no exception. There's a back door, man. It's like, how do I gotta come through the front? If you come through the front, you gotta go through the scanner, empty your pockets, and like that. I'm going through the back door. Like the boys in black, not the boys in blue. You know what I'm saying? Come through the back door. But my thing is, we got to know when we come to the back door how to act and what's going on. I don't know, man. I just be streaming right now when I'm bored, man. I got to get a following up. I got to get some people that's really viewing it and get some demand. I'm really talking about some stuff that's important, so hopefully I can start making some money on this. I'm trying to get my views up, and I also got to learn how to make my streaming better, make it look better to where when you look at the screen over to the this way and that way, you can see the comments and the donations but I'm also gonna do a course, you know what I'm saying, right here in front of this little display. I'm gonna do a course, where we talk about, I'm going to help people get their passport shit, you know what I mean? How to get your silver bullet passport, which is your non-citizen passport, which means your non-federal U.S. passport, which means you'll be a state citizen or you'll be a free inhabitant, and you'll be entitled, to your privileges and immunities that's outlined in the Article 4 of the Constitution. If you read the Constitution, privileges and immunities are actually mentioned twice. And it's not by coincidence. Okay, so the first time privileges and immunities is brought up is Article 4, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution. It says, is it right here? Let's see. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. Right? I think we went over that last episode. But it's still important and pertinent still in this instant matter. Just dealing with, okay, what's the silver bullet passport? Well, that's the passport that foreign nationals get. Now, if you go to, let's look it up. Well, let's make it public. All right, so let me go ahead and zoom in. It's Title 8, CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, Chapter 1, Subchapter B, Part 101. So when you hear 101, it's fundamentals. Word is bond is fundamentals. So you got Title 8 CFR 101. Point 3. Creation of record of lawful permanent resident status for person born under diplomatic status in the United States. Now listen to this. Now you don't have to get you a lawful permanent resident status. You don't have to. You could, your residence doesn't have to be permanent anywhere. You a floater. You a free inhabitant. You a floater. You're not going. There's nothing permanent about nothing I'm doing in business, because business can change. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not going to be a permanent resident with any business or corporation. Now, 101.3, person born to foreign diplomat. Status of a person born in the United States to a foreign diplomatic officer accredited to the United States as a matter of international law is not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. That person is not a United States citizen under the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. Such a person may be considered a lawful permanent resident at birth. Okay. And that's cool, to be considered. When you hear that, right, may be considered. Why? Which means you don't have to necessarily, take that position. You don't got to say you a permanent resident. You could say, I never voluntarily or intentionally signed up to be a permanent resident. I never did that. I'm here, and you can't kick me out because I was born here. See, that's the thing. That's the thing about the silver bullet passport. And other people could get it from different places. For sure. But I'm talking about right here, being born here. Definition of a foreign diplomatic officer means a person listed in the State Department diplomatic list, also known as the Blue List. It includes ambassadors, ministers, charges d'affaires, counselors, secretaries and attaches of embassies and legations, whatever. The term also includes individuals with comparable diplomatic status and immunities who are accredited to the United Nations. You know, you may want to research the United Nations Declaration. I think Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. And they got some other ones on there. You know, we went over this yesterday with are you a U.S. citizen? Now, what they not gonna write clearly, but if you understand how legalese and how government style of publishing, which is called GPO style. Oh, what I just read, is it from the Constitution? What I just read is actually a code, federal regulation. Codes are not in the Constitution is not codified, but that was a code called Title 8, right? Title 8 Code of Federal Regulations 101.3. Now, before that, I had read Article 4, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the United States of America, which says that states or citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. That's what it says in the Constitution. However, fast forward to the 14th Amendment, it says, no state shall make or enforce a law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Now, we're going to get into it. Well, I got to get my slides together. However, when you say citizens of the United States, you're only talking about specific characters. A citizen of the United States. Okay, I'm going to read this. This is a quote. This is from the Foreign Affairs Manual. In the slaughterhouse cases, the court held that descendants of slaves were not included as citizens under the Constitution. Open quote. Precedents from the judge. The 14th Amendment declares that persons may be citizens of the United States without regard to their citizenship of a particular state, and it overturns the Dred Scott decision by making all persons born within the United States and subject to its jurisdiction citizens of the United States, that its main purpose was to establish the citizenship of the Negro can admit of no doubt. The phrase subject to its jurisdiction was intended to exclude from its operation children of ministers, consuls, and citizens or subjects of foreign states born within the United States. So you understand what I'm saying? The main purpose for the 14th Amendment was to establish citizenship for the newly freed Negro, the people that just got out of slavery. Okay? Now, the second purpose of that 14th Amendment was to readmit the former Confederate states back into the Union under the condition that the United States, nor any state that was in the aid of insurrection, could claim or emancipate any slave, and all debts and obligations from any claims shall be held illegal and void. Illegal. Trying to read this, without stuttering and all that. I'm working on my radio personality type of thing. But anyway, it's a corporate citizenship. It's a corporate citizenship. Yeah. Man, my curtain fell down. Man, that light smacking me in my face. I'm about to end it here. It seems like we covered a lot of bit of ground, a lot of little bit. And go ahead and share this. Share this on Facebook and let people hear um, exactly what's going on. You know, it's a demographic for this, but it's really only within the people that care about freedoms. A lot of people don't give a shit about that type of talk. You know, it's too high power for them. What does what mean? Let me know. What does what mean for people today? Excuse me, I didn't see it till now. Clarify your question. Just waiting on the question. The 14th, what does that mean for people today? The 14th Amendment. What does the 14th Amendment mean for people today? It means, all right, so listen. When the Civil War ended, it was fought because the North wanted to have a corporate takeover for, just to keep it short and sweet. The North wanted the corporate takeover. The South wanted the slavery. The South had their own ideas. The North felt like, the South was right, but not in execution and not in moral. So, and moral as far as how they treat each other, not about how they treat us. So, when they saw the aggression of the South, they could see, okay, they morals is they lack morals in the South. These people down here, they a little bit more vicious and savage. You know what I mean? They got these black people, and back then you got to realize black people was a less of an asset. We became more of a liability because we was ignorant than a mug, and our value was depreciating at a fast rate. So, because we were seen as property, remember that we weren't seen as human beings. We were seen as property with the value, with the total value, and over time, as you got older, your value dropped. But now your ignorance and your stupidity, depreciated your value too, because now you couldn't be sold and be put to use without being told what to do a million times. So the North said we got to get rid of this and we got to let these people go. But the whole thing is we're not going to let them go. They're going to come right back because we're just going to make them work for us, but we're going to educate them. But we're going to educate them into a systematic employment. We'll call it careers. And we'll put them in them schools and we'll teach a few of them to make trophies in front of the other ones, to make the other ones aspire to be like the ones we put up as trophies. And we'll never let them make it. But they'll all strive for it. So we'll have, 400 people playing in the NBA or whatever they got. And then we'll have millions of people trying to make it. We'll have one black president in the whole first 45 presidents and counting. You know what I'm saying? But we got all these people thinking that you're telling your children, you could be the president when you grow up. So the 14th Amendment was a situation that they said, listen, South, let go of the slaves and we'll give you unlimited slavery. Now, what is unlimited slavery? The unlimited slavery means that, all right, listen, let me put it in a let's take a step back. We go too far, too fast. The Civil War was allegedly lost by the South. Now, when the South allegedly lost, the 13th Amendment says slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist except for the punishment of a crime where the party is duly convicted, which means slavery exists if you're duly convicted, which means the South got what they wanted. Do you hear me? The South got what they wanted. They got slavery. But they didn't get it in the form chains and shackles and making black people live on your land and keeping them ignorant to things that they shouldn't necessarily be ignorant to, like 1, 2, 3s and ABCs. You know, even you get a dog, you're gonna teach it how to piss outside and shit outside, right? You're gonna teach certain things, domesticate this animal. That's how they see it. So the North, you know, they said, listen, we're going to give you an olive branch. We're going to give you the 13th Amendment with a compromise. We're going to get rid of slavery, but we're going to compromise. Yeah, prisoners are slaves. That's what it says in the 13th. Go read the 13th Amendment. Don't take my word for it. Go read it. And then keep in mind that the 13th Amendment was the first amendment in the Constitution that Congress had the power to enforce. Why does Congress have the power to enforce the 13th Amendment if that's the slave amendment? Because slavery got transferred from the South and the Confederate slave or whoever owned a slave, and you got your stuff taken, subrogated by Congress. Congress claimed all the interests in slavery. Okay? And any claims against that interest were seen illegal, deemed illegal and void. So all that slave money never came back to the newly freed Negro who didn't know what to do with no money. Congress kept it. And they stored it. And they said, listen, one day they gonna want their money. And we'll give them their money. It's just not going to be in the form of money. See, we don't know that money is just fiat. There's many different forms of money. This your money. This the black man's money right here. Books. And if you ain't reading and studying and learning, then you're not getting your reparations. You're not getting your money. You know, in jail, they call money working out. You doing push-ups, that's your money. Because, you know, I mean, you can get money. You can do things, you know, people do things in jail to get money, but like real money, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, technology is a mug now. But what I'm saying is getting money could be seen in different things. You know, you hit 100 push-ups, that could be seen as $100. You know what I'm saying? Get $100. So back on to the 14th Amendment and how we see it today. Well, today, it's still the same thing it was back then. It's a slave citizenship. Well, let's not call it that. Let's call it, because that came after 13th Amendment. So let's call it corporate citizenship. And they call it that. Let's, you know, I'm going to find some stuff. I got some stuff where it's written down. Like, it's a corporate fiction. It's fictional. And they create fictional characters. They create these fictional rules, fictional character rules, based on contract, based on the fact that the country is actually bankrupt. See, Civil War was bad for the country. Okay, because the country had already owed a lot of money to Britain. And now when this Civil War broke out, and it was internal loss with no help from foreigners, America already owed money to a lot of people. So they just dug themselves further in debt, which is why the South got punished so bad. Evidence of this punishment, you know, Georgia got treated the worst. Atlanta, Georgia, they flag, it says resurgence, because resurgence is what it is when you get kicked out of something and you got to come back in. You got to resurge. You know, you got an insurgence and then you got a resurgence. And that's what they flags say. The seal of the city of Atlanta says resurgence. And then it has the year 1847 and 1865, because 1847 was the year that they ratified to become or incorporated into the Union. So Georgia entered the Union in 1865 or 1847. Think about that. And they went to war in 1861. That's when the Civil War started. Less than 20 years of being inside of the Union of the States, they decided to join the Confederate and go to war. And this was saw as a slap in the face to the Union. So even though they was mad at their own brethren and said, listen, we're going to punish you and take away your slaves, we still going to give you what? Prison. So in 1891, the 3 prison system was passed. The 3 federal prisons, the first one opened none other than in Atlanta. This shit is not coincidence, okay? Atlanta, one of the first places to have a federal penitentiary. This is before the, what do they call it? Like the prison growth, the super prison. They got a name for that shit. It's called I like to say my stuff right. They got a name for this thing. Boy, they got a name for it. Listen. Mass incarceration. So mass incarceration began in the early 1900s. Man, how would you go over listen to what I'm saying and just Google this shit. And then buy you some books and learn the language. I'm gonna tell you right now. It's a scary language. It's a scary language. Let me tell you why. It's scary for you and me, because if you're not down with being a slave owner, and really, we're going to talk about this in another episode, but if you're not down with being a slave owner, it's not good. It's not good. They had a conversation, okay? Conservatives and liberals had a conversation. They said, listen, the liberals are taking over forever. Ain't no back and forth squabble. We're going to be a liberal country. We're going to turn, because you know they didn't call it Democrats and Republicans. See? They called themselves conservatives and liberals. Now, what we call a Republican now was what a conservative was back then. What we call a Democrat now is a liberal, and they still refer to them as that. However, this is a liberal. This is what they call a democratic. It's a democracy. So it's a liberal government. But what we got to understand is the conservatives are here to conserve the liberties, while the liberals are here to create more liberties. But the liberties that the liberals are making have always benefited the corporations. And a rule for a corporation is a rule for a 14th Amendment citizen. So this is where you fit in. If you could go read a code or a rule that a governor or a police or a corporation, I don't give a damn if it's Walmart, boy. Every United States citizen or person that claims to be such has to follow those rules. But let me let you know something, that the rules were started to regulate the Negro. Let me say it again. The rules was invented to regulate the Negro. There was no rules. Wild, Wild West, lawless country. Well, white knew his position because white versus white wasn't the way at all. Because you came here with a mentality knowing that you were becoming white. There was no they didn't come here white. They came here Portuguese, British, Spanish, French, and they joined German. They came together and they said, we're going to be the white people. And you have to say you're white to come here. You have to be white. They didn't say you got to be from this place or that. You have to be white. You have to be down for the white thing. So that white stuff started in 1790. It was a real strategic thing. Because they had already said, we're going to let the slaves go. Because we're going to enslave them perpetually on paper. Listen, why are you trying to whip them and hang them with ropes? And yeah, we like to do it. They love that shit too. They the sickest ones. You thought you was safe in the North. Thought you was safe in the North. They vote on slavery up here. Let me tell you something about California. They abolished it. That's what I like about California. As soon as California made the Constitution, they said no slavery. Now they came with the compromise too, but they didn't. There wasn't no vote. There's certain places that voted. Places like Michigan, they voted on slavery. They said, "Listen, if y'all want it, we gonna give it to you. If you don't, we not." So I guess that's a real liberal thing, democratic thing to do. You see what I'm saying? Liberal, democratic, but the democratic people don't make no difference because they gonna make slavery an option. See, the difference between the liberal and the conservative is that the conservative ain't really trying to give you no option. The liberal trying to give you the same option that the conservative was going to give you, but another one that's even more fucked up, that looks better than the one that the conservatives offering. So the liberals' plans always look better, but they always come with worse consequences than if we would have just went with the conservative plan in the first place. And why we got to go with a plan that ain't our plan? Because they created this shit on your back. Now, you want something to do about it, we got to play by the fucking rules. That is what the fuck it is. I'm not trying to influence nobody to go out there and do nothing ignorant. It's time we learn these laws and learn how to execute. Because listen, we're not 14th Amendment citizens, but we have to learn that that's the slave. When I went to audio school, I learned that when you're dealing with boards, one board is the master. Your computer could be the master. But all the controls, you put them in slave mode. Because they got to be in control by the puppet master. So who's pulling the strings? And you got to, realize that you don't got to be on the strings, but we be on the strings by default. And when you talk to people about this shit, it's so deep and it go over their heads. But listen, rally up the real people. I don't give a fuck who you are, what you look like. If you don't like the fact that the IRS was created to collect revenue to fund the federal government or to fund the Union during the Civil War. Now, I read that in the United States Statutes at Large. What year was the Civil War? When did the Civil War start? 1861. What year did the IRS start? 1862. Okay? 1862. Because they was already making the move. They was like, listen, this is inevitable. The Union knew, like they told the South, all you doing is killing us. We killing each other for nothing. All you got to do is lay it down. You not going to win this one. Even if you win how you think you going to win, you ain't going to win. You ain't going to win. A lot of people say the South won. I agree to a degree. They was compromised, which means this is why they could still fly their flag. When in down south, they could fly the Confederate flag. Name one country that lost the war that could still fly their flag after they lose the war. That could fly their flag in the country that they lost the war to is what I'm saying. So think about that. Let that sink in. When you lose a war, you can't fly your flag in the land where you lost the war. But for years, they kept that flag up in them southern states. Symbolism. Anyways, July 1st, 1862, the IRS was created to, let's see if somebody got the answer right. It says why it was. Let's see. The roots of the IRS go back to the Civil War when President Lincoln in Congress in 1862 created the position of the Commissioner of the IRS and enacted an income to tax or an income tax to pay war expenses. I love being right. So the IRS was created to take the income tax to pay war expenses. Whose income? Let's think about this. 1862, we was not human beings yet. Black people didn't have no income. Everything we did was free. Everything. So income tax at that time was imposed on the southern states. Look up the Moral Tariff Act. 1861, when they said we're going to start increasing the tariff act, which means we're going to increase the tax on the imports. And what's that mean? What's imported to the South? Besides the goods, the herbs, the spices, the niggas imported to the South, right? So they increased the tax rate on imports coming into the South because why? Because the shit you bringing in ain't even worth it no more. They was like, man, you bringing in slaves and they not even worth it no more. You running us into the ground the way you're operating. They said we could do it better. Let's just create prisons and lock them up. And then create a banking system where we can make 6% interest on their charges that your parents signed off on when you was born. And you got that Social Security and that birth certificate. You signed off on it. You agreed to a contract. And now they make 6% on your title because they created slavery into a corporate fiction and got rid of the human being trafficking and never paid the price for it. Human trafficking. They want to take people to jail for human trafficking right now for life. And I understand. However, what about the 350 plus years of human trafficking that y'all admit to on the books that nobody's ever been to jail for or paid for? So the only reparations we got is the books. Never got a dime for your time or your grind. 1862, the IRS was started, like we already said, enacted. Income tax to pay war taxes. Like we already said, the only people that had income was the free white person. So they took it personal in the South. They took the IRS they took it personal. When you hear about these Southerners right now fighting, they fighting because of this type of stuff that happened that many years ago. They still fighting. They still upset. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. But I have no bone in that fight except for uniting with the other people that's being treated the same way as me. Now, see, now you kind of know what it feel like to be a nigga now. Now you kind of know what it feel like to be black a little bit. When you start to see that the IRS and all the government is a bank. And they create the money just to take the money and keep you on a perpetual cycle. And they took the money off the gold standard, so they did it to us all. It's not something that one of us is going through or one group of us. No, now this is a thing that this is a common ground for unity now. See, there's never been a time in the United States where there was the United States of America where there was a common ground for unity for all of us to come together. You could say slavery, but no, fuck all that. Back in the day, it was that wasn't the common ground because they wasn't slaves. The common ground is now this corporate fictional 14th Amendment because now we're all equated to the state government in a limited citizenship, a limited form of citizenship created by the 14th Amendment. And now all of us, when you born in any state and you sign up and you born in the hospital, which most of us is going to be born at because nobody's really doing home births. And now you get born at the hospital, you sign your documents, you sign a contract. And they execute the contract on your behalf and create for you a birth certificate. A birth certificate is a certificate of title. I'm not going to go as far as it says a stock and a bond and all that. I'm not going to listen. I ain't getting all that. It's just a certificate. And like any other certificate, it's registered at the county registrar. It's not by coincidence, because it's supposed to be at the county registrar. When you buy your birth certificate, you buy it from a county office, which was the county you was born in, because it got notarized by a county notary. Now, that's what they taking your money out of your public beneficiary account. See, listen, every time a baby is born, the state has to ask the federal government for more money. They have to, this is how states get their money. This is how the electoral vote works. This is how House of Representatives works. This is how states love to increase their population, because they want to encourage you to come there and stay there and increase their population so they can get more benefits and increase the House their number of representatives on the House. The Senate is based on fixed numbers. However, the House of Representatives is based on population of your state. So you have more sway and more influence in Congress when you have more people in your state, which is why the biggest states or the smallest states have to choose which states the big states they agree with, and really become allies. You know what I'm saying? Become allies. And it's the same way they doing the United States federal government does it with the other corporations in other places. You got allies, and because they call the United States of America a state as one unit in the first place. We call it the United States of America, but they call it one state, one place. It's one sovereign unit, all of us together under one constitution. We the people, allegedly. Because if it was all we the people under that, then they wouldn't have a 14th Amendment. They wouldn't have it. Because it says the same thing as Article 4, Section 2, Clause 1. There's no way you repeated yourself on accident. Because we not stupid and nobody's belligerent, and you talking to your own people. You wasn't talking to us when you wrote it. None of us could even read at the time. I mean, you got to realize we could barely read. To this day, we hate to read. We rather watch videos and learn from me. It's why memes are so popular in social media, because black people love looking at pictures and images. The first books we ever got on the plantation was picture books that misled us, the first form of propaganda. Picture Bibles with white Jesus and white saints and all this type of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you like, but I'm just saying, why put that on somebody if they didn't ask for it? And that's all. I just, stop giving me stuff I don't ask for. Hey, listen, stop giving me stuff I don't ask for. 1862, the IRS was created to get income tax and pay war expenses. Who told you that first? Hit that like button. Subscribe. Buy a copy of my book. It's on Amazon. Abide by Your Oath, written and compiled by AJ Law. It's on Amazon, man. I got copies right now too. You can cash at me at $25 and I'll mail it straight to you. And then you can read and learn more about what I'm talking about and be more involved in all that shit, because this right here is the educational book that you're going to need to start understanding more of the stuff that I'm talking about. However, any questions you got, feel free to put them in the comments. This is the live chat, but put them in the comments. That way I can see them, write them down, come back, and, answer the questions that you have in depth. But I know that everything we doing is based on slavery, and the South ain't mad at the North because they wanted to get rid of the blacks. They mad at the North because of the damn tax. See, there's been 2 times this country has went to war internally. American Revolution was not a civil war, but it was an internal war because Britain came over here on boats and went to war in Massachusetts. Okay, it was war in Massachusetts. The American Revolution got fought in America with Britain soldiers that came here on boats. It went down. And when they won, it was bad for the country. They went broke. When you win the war, though, I guess, it's benefits to it, whatever. Fast forward, Civil War. Civil War was fought Why was both these wars fought? Over taxes. Over taxes. America goes to war over taxes. Internally. Listen, the only time America's going to war internally is over taxes. And I don't give a fuck what form you talking about in taxes. I don't care what kind of form you talking about. It's about taxes. And we gotta understand that. Where your tax, what is a tax dollar? And where is that going? And what is the different forms of taxes? There's different forms of taxes. You know, you go pay public parking. If you go park somewhere and you put a couple quarters in, you just paid a tax. So this thing is all about taxes. And the taxes got to be used the right way. And if we paying taxes, where do our tax money go? You know, there's different questions. But the IRS was created as a war department. So why, if it was created to pay war expenses, then why are they still asking for income? Because it's still war against the Negro. It's still war against the 14th Amendment citizen. See, when the southern states went against the northern states, it pissed them off. And they said, listen, it'll never happen again. So we're going to have to make sure, you know, us states follow by some rules. And it's going to be the same rules as the niggas. So you know who else got to follow the rules that we got to follow? It's the government. The government got to follow the same rules blacks got to follow. But the free white people, they get to follow the Constitution. The free whites, they get to follow the Constitution of the United States. And they get to exercise their Bill of Rights and their civil rights at all times. It's us that have to declare our status and let people know who the hell we are all the time and always defend a righteous mentality. Because we paint it as the criminal just by default. Because of propaganda over years and self-hatred propaganda. You know, getting on the songs and just saying a lot of stuff that promotes self-hatred. And eating bad food. And there's a lot of reasons. And they got us in a hellhole. And they got us in a gumbo pot. But guess what? You boil something for so long, it's going to burn, man. You're going to burn this shit. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying we're going to burn the gumbo pot, man. And make it less desirable, man. You know what I'm saying? The taste is running out. There's no flavor in this, man. We learning. And, you know, the whole IRS was created from the Civil War. So how is it that you owe taxes? I'm telling you right now, you don't. Pay your taxes, though. Pay your taxes. There's ways to pay your taxes the right way. And there's people out there that can educate you on that. I can't. But all I do know is that the IRS was created as to pay war expenses, take income tax, pay war expenses. And America's constantly at war, so that's why they constantly taking the expenses. So just a little bit of education. But we're finna sign off. Appreciate you tapping in, Schmo Bandy. Hopefully I answered your question in totality about the 14th Amendment and what does that mean for people today. If not, if I could have answered it more in depth, if you have more that you want to know, put it in the comment section, right? After the video ends, because we definitely about to sign off. But put it in the comment section. I'm going to read it, write it down. I'm going to come back to it. And really, we're going to do this every day. I'm finna really do it in the morning. And we're going to call it the Morning Maxims. We're going to start talking about legal maxims every morning. So the Morning Maxim is what we're going to have every morning. And we're going to really try to start this AOB talk and AOB TV. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, appreciate you tapping in. And for all the people that tap in later, appreciate y'all too. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Leave a question. Let me know how you feel. Let me know where I could improve. Let me know, anything but the hate mail.